Well, everyone, I've done a reckless thing. Now, there have been times in my life where I've been fairly reckless when it comes to, I don't know, drugs and the law. This is different. This is entirely different. And, those years where I was pretty insane when it comes to my behavior in relation to society, those years are long behind me, but I still have these spurts of recklessness, and they're not illegal ones like before. These are ones that are more spiritually reckless. I've tried to take down gateways. I've tried to open doors that shouldn't be opened in an attempt to learn more about the realms beyond, the dimensions beyond, the beings with beyond where we are, beyond the plane of existence upon which we sit. Um, a few days ago, I did a ritual, and this ritual was in a fairly old graveyard. And this graveyard is one that I've visited many times. And in this ritual, I basically tried to open a line of contact with any spirits who wanted to speak to me. Uh, I said something like, "All ye who wish to speak, come to my ear. All ye who wish to speak, uh, come and speak to me in my life, now and throughout my lifetime in general." Um, and in this ritual, there are many implements, and I might share the ritual itself at a later time. I'm not sure if it'll be tomorrow or the next day, but I still haven't decided if I'm going to share the ritual because it was entirely self composed, and I'm not sure that I would recommend you doing a ritual like this because it can open the gateway for many troubles that can come to you, but also maybe much enlightenment. It just depends on what happens as a result of what I did. Now, what was dangerous, what was reckless about this ritual was that I used my own blood, and I wrote this contract of trying to call spirits to me to speak to me, and wrote my name down and then covered my name in the blood, and then I wrote the actual so-called contract. I mean, I put these around it because it wasn't very long, but when you write your name and then you put your blood on it, that makes it yours. That means that it is bound to you. And not only did I do that and then burn it, which basically sends it out into the ether in a sense, I left some of my blood in this graveyard. Now, why is it bad to leave some of your blood in the graveyard or even make a contract like this? And making the contract isn't the biggest part of it as to why it's reckless, but to leave your blood in a graveyard is significant and reckless because um, everyone's blood is very specific to them. Spirits and beings that might want to cause you harm, or beings that might not want to cause you harm, or maybe even beings that'll help you, they will always be able to find you based on your blood. Now, when you leave some of your blood behind, it's like leaving, it's like writing on on a wall in a bad neighborhood, your phone number, your address, and how to reach you, and what kind of person you are. So anything that wants to reach me can reach me now, can find me just by following that kind of identity tag or that contact information, as I say in the ritual. Um, so when I left my blood in this graveyard, this very old graveyard where there's obviously going to be spirits who didn't quite move on, souls can't necessarily be bound, but spirits and egos, that is what is left behind a lot of the time if they continue to be attached to this realm and they aren't willing to move on. So any spirits or being ghosts, whether they be good or bad, will be able to find me now because that one that is connected to that graveyard will be able to find me and contact me. Any dead person will be able to contact me that's in that graveyard because I left my blood in that graveyard. It's a you know when you're dealing with magic, when you're dealing with the occult, when you're dealing with any kind of spiritual system, it will warn you about leaving your blood places where it shouldn't be, and you shouldn't necessarily just leave your blood anywhere. It should be very, very concise. If you're using it, you're tying that. If you're writing a rune word, for instance, you're tying those runes to yourself. You're tying yourself to that segment of reality, and kind of binding yourself to whatever you want to gain from that ritual. And a lot of the times it won't be something that you anticipated, because as human beings we're not specific enough to where the universe, well, a lot of us aren't specific enough to where the universe will respond and act in a way that you had predicted. Now, when I left my blood in this graveyard, I tried to open a gateway through this ritual, and I gave my contact information. So this is not something that I would ever recommend that you do. But in my spiritual trials, in my spiritual life, I have tried to open gateways and bring things to me that could teach me about the different dimensions and what it is like on the other side of death. On the other side, that religions and different spiritual systems, different tribes have questioned about and have sought and have tried to initiate, so that we're not only prepared for the next phase of our existence. I believe in reincarnation, so when I go to the next phase, I'll probably come back unless I reach a level of enlightenment, which isn't likely to happen. There's been many explanations about, what happens and how it happens, why it happens. And those of us who are very intent about learning that information right now have been trying to open gateways for a long time, and this particular gateway is very much tied to me. And these spirits, these ghosts, if you want to call them, these left behind pieces of a person who desire to be manifest, who desire to be existing in this world because they're still attached to it. They will be very much able to find me. I of course created a protection circle, I used Himalayan pink salt, and I also used a few recitations of Hecas Hecas Este Bebeloi, more than a few, which means away, away, all ye profane. And I used frankincense, and I used forceful will to try and push away anything negative that would come my way. But there's no guarantee that will be enough. So things can find me. I've done a very reckless thing. I've done a reckless thing. And one that I would not advise you to do. And there have been little things that have already begun to happen. Little supernatural things that I'm not going to go into detail about, because all of the supernatural experiences that I have are very dear to me, more dear to me than any money or any possession that I have, because they basically relate my relationship to that which is beyond this realm, and those experiences to me are very dear, and they should be very dear to you as well, especially if it's based on an action that you did and not necessarily something that you came upon. And a few little things have begun to happen already, and the dreams have been a little weird recently. Now, I'm very much protected by the Divine Mother Kali Ma. She is a loving mother who is fierce in the protection of those who seek spiritual enlightenment, spiritual liberation, moksha. She's all those who appeal to her, all those who take her up as their divine mother, the goddess Kali Ma. She protects them, and she fights off negativity, any being who wishes to cause harm to them spiritually, emotionally, physically, mentally. She chases them off. This is why the connections have been sometimes hard, and the gateways have been kind of hard to open. But knowing my intention, and I've made it clear to Kali Ma before, there are things that have been able to contact me through very small supernatural things, but also through a sort of inspiration and a direct line that goes into my mind. But anyway, without going into greater detail on that, the ritual that I did, I might share with you on YouTube. I might share it in its entirety. I've obviously given an example over there, definitely a piece of it, if not the whole thing over there, but I did not give you sound. So I might share the ritual with sound in a later video, but I would highly recommend that you do not leave your blood in a graveyard, because if you do not have the proper protection and you don't know what you're doing, or you don't have a concise goal as to what you're trying to bring towards yourself, then it can be very damaging to you as far as spiritually, emotionally, mentally, and it can even bring death in the worst case scenario, which, all of these things I'm not afraid of because of the protection that I have, and because I open the gateway only to those who I believe will be able to tell me something, be able to enlighten me on certain aspects of the realms beyond, and that is my intention. Now, as far as if this intention is accurate, as far as me carrying it out, will it actually happen the way I want it to happen? And we will see. But even just a day later, certain little supernatural things have begun to happen. So I will keep you updated, but, my advice is don't do the ritual that I did. Don't create eyes and anoint them with your blood. I collected them from the graveyard afterwards, so that, I anointed these eyes with my blood so that they could see me, and then I said the words that I said. And I collected the eyes, but I still left some of my blood in the graveyard. So, just be careful, whatever you do in your spiritual path. But always be aware that whatever you do, whoever you try to be, and however you try to contact the realms beyond, be sure you have a clear intention, be sure that you have protection, and be sure that if there are consequences, you can deal with those consequences. Because the consequences can be very dire for you, your friends, family, if you don't have all of these things in line. Thank you very much. I hope this has been informative. If you like this video at all, hit that thumbs up down there. It really helps out the channel. If you want to comment, you want to ask questions, I might not answer all of them. If you want to ask questions, or you just want to say, wow, this is really stupid, if you know exactly what I did, and, as far as, if you have, background in the information that I'm talking about, if you wanted to just say, okay, well, this is reckless, but maybe you'll be able to learn more, shoot it down in the comment section below, whatever that comment is, and hopefully this will work out for me. I'll learn more and not be damaged, in any way that I can be damaged by what I did. But thank you very much. Y'all have a great day, and I will see all of you in the future.